Well, why don't you send him in then, whispery boy? Send Big Jay in instead of just whispering to us.
Send Mr. J in.
Fucking fruit. I forgot to tell you, my new thing is to ask people for a light when I have an e-cigarette. It's really getting a lot of big laughs out front.
People loving it.
Today it was warm enough that you could stand out front and smoke a little again.
Yeah, before the last 2 days I've been smoking on the 48th Street side where there's like a little alcove, so you have to be out in the wind.
Oh. You're a committed fucking smoker.
No.
If you could go out in 5 degrees and heavy wind. By the way, I was reading a thing the other day that says wind chill doesn't mean shit.
I saw that
There's
too.
no such thing as wind chill.
What a load of bull!
I've been saying it my entire life.
You know what the wind chill to mine is 30.
What? I could die out there.
It's actually 47 degrees out.
Where's Big Jay at? You whispered that he was here 5 minutes ago.
Sexily.
Vito's getting him in the lobby.
Well, why does he ever have to wait in the lobby? Just fucking send him down here immediately. It's never like we have to be confused about Big J. After all these about all these fucking times that we bring Big J in to do the show with us, and we're still confused about how to get him in. Well, this is some of the stuff that we're working on in the new show. Yeah. And when we get Chris back, we're going to work on these one at a time.
2 to 3 weeks. I got my final breakdown or bottoming out or whatever. It's a weird time.
If they're taking him straight to that fucking studio, I'm going to go crazy, Shelby.
All right, he's coming in.
Why does he have to fucking go there first?
Just straight in. Straight to the
Why?
studio.
I'm telling him, don't bring him in here.
Why?
Straight to the
Send
studio.
Vito in with him now, too.
Go in there. Go.
Big J, what do you say, buddy?
Okay.
I have to tell you this. After all these times you've done the show, hey, Christine, and how many times are we talking now? Like, you've kind of done the show about a dozen times already, right?
Yeah, easy.
And yet, they still make you wait in the lobby. They still take you to the other fucking room. And there's still the thing of some effeminate little twink in the other room going, Big J's here. When do you want him? I want him immediately.
But it's pretty immediate.
Not for me.
Not fast
Vito,
enough.
why do you take him to that room?
Because I thought that's what the proper...
Why would you think that was the proper thing? Who told you that was proper to begin with?
Nobody.
Okay.
I just saw it happen, so I was like...
Yeah, it's going to happen, like if we get Robert De Niro, we want a little setup for him. Jay is like one of us. We don't have to sit around and think, how are we going to introduce him? Does he have music that he comes into? Okay? Bringing Jay in is like bringing Fez in. How many times... Now, have I not said this to me?
Yes.
Do you not pass it along to this big lug?
I did not pass that along to him. I thought he would know to just bring him straight to the studio. Last time Jay came in, came straight to the studio.
Vito, you're here as an intern to learn the business, right?
Yeah.
And yet you're getting dumber every day. And I'm concerned about that because I want you to have a career after this.
Thank you.
Vito, Jesus Christ.
You're a reflection of Chris Stanley.
I know. I talked to Vito today. You got to fucking get your fucking head back together, and this isn't getting your head back together, Vito.
You actually had that conversation with him?
I had this conversation with him today.
Now,
Find your head.
Why do you think that his head isn't together?
I don't know. He's fallen off from the beginning of I'd say
when he came in all happy, like, I got ideas.
Yeah.
I've got ideas. And now it's like, can I get out of here soon? I don't know if you're going to get a job after this. I want you to get a fucking job in the business.
I have ideas. I'm going to start showing all
you
my
haven't
ideas.
learned about radio, and you're getting involved less and less in it.
I'm going to get involved more and more.
We were going to do your video stuff, your Vine stuff. All right, I'm going to talk to you after the show. I'm going to take Chris Stanley is no longer going to be your mentor.
Are you going to be my mentor now?
No. But this box of tissues is. And I'm going to say after a week, if you learn just as much from this box of tissues. We're talking to some young hayseed guy from Indiana who's been doing stand up for 11 years, still doing amateur nights. And for some reason, we told him he could come to the stand. So he's going to get a call from a guy.
He expects the headline.
I told him that the food's unbelievable. But he's saying like this: I've never been in a big city before. Am I going to be thrown off by New York? Yeah, you are.
Did he really say it like that?
Yeah,
like
just
that
like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
never good
thing to come to the city with.
Unless you are seething with confidence. If you have a lot of confidence and like a goofy like Midwestern or Southern thing, it will work. But if you are nervous, that's just going to come off like
You can't have any nerves in New York.
It's like
The last
performing-
guy I brought in like that, and I know you won't like him, he's a guitar act, so I know it's a problem for you. But his name was Lewin Davis, and he came here, and I thought he had so much, and then he just fell short. Did you see that movie?
I didn't see it yet, but I know the story of it.
I fucking cried so hard in that film.
Did you? I heard one review just say it was a terrible...
Oh, no, I was crying because I lost my wallet. But I ended up finding it. But no, Chris, was it your favorite movie of the year?
So far, yeah. I still have to see Her and Wolf of Wall Street. So,
I did like Her.
But inside Llewyn Davis,
I thought Her was pretty amazing.
Someone, Kurt Metzger, a funny comic, said when I was suggesting to him we go see it, he goes, "Yeah, I think this movie already happened in the '80s." And I was like, "Electric Dreams." Do you remember Electric Dreams?
It's actually true. It was just done a lot worse.
Yeah,
back
really.
then.
It was done really shitty.
But we've always worried about artificial intelligence. I hate the fact that people still keep trying to make robots today. It fucking drives me nuts.
But it kind of like, it's when it does happen, and the technology does move forward, it gets freaky. I tried on Google glasses yesterday. It was pretty weird. And like, I think the Xbox One, the way you can talk to it, and
Yeah.
like, put on Comedy
time.
Central, it like does it. It just and it recognizes you.
Yeah,
'Cause it
I don't want to
grids
be
the whole room.
recognized by my fucking TV.
Me either. Like that's why I don't have one. I think it's bizarre. Like I don't need that kind of technology.
You know that your fucking Xbox is going to say to you one day, "Do you really need to eat that?" You know what I mean? Aren't you going to hate yourself?
But I'm so behind on that stuff anyway. With like I don't play even online. I think I'm just like you. I think I play Madden and NBA.
Yeah.
I play a game like an adult. I turn the fuck off and accomplish something else.
No, I do that too. I don't play online because people immediately quit when you're winning. Like when they first had the online, I'm like, "This is great," and I'm like, "What? None of these fucking guys punt."
Yeah,
and I figure out that they'll
Mm-hmm.
fucking throw 4th and 18, and then when they don't make it, they just disappear.
That makes
I'm
me
not playing.
furious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you realize you're fighting and mad at a 9-year-old.
Yeah, you're gonna get called a twat by 13-year-old Filipino kid.
Like, yeah, if you were in a bar and you were playing with a 9-year-old, like, you'd think people are going to think I'm a kid toucher. They're going to think that I'm going to play with this kid for a while, put up the quarters, and then molest them. But why would I feel any safer in my home doing that?
Do you remember the days of going to play against somebody at an arcade, though?
Fuck
a game?
yeah.
Like early Street Fighter or something like that, maybe?
Yeah, you had to hold the fucking machine.
It was so going there. The bowling alley in my neighborhood had those, and that was was the end of it.
The real arcade, like the golden era of arcade, was very, very short. You know what I mean? Like video arcades. It was only like an 81 to 84, and then when the home things came in, people stopped going to arcades.
Nintendo probably single-handedly destroyed the arcade.
And some people would be considered cool because they were good at Tron. You know what I mean?
That's badass.
Oh, yeah.
This fucking guy is the coolest dude ever. He could come in with a quarter and stay there forever.
Oh, the pit fighter champ was getting all kinds of pussy in my neighborhood. And there was only 3 fighters in that game.
I still think, now that we've had video games all these years, still a pinball machine is the best possible thing to have in your home. You'd be better off with a pinball machine than an old 80s arcade game.
Oh, yeah. All of them get boring. The best one probably to this day, if you see a Miss Pac-Man, where the Pac-Man moves fast, you could get into that for 15 minutes. But even then, you're like, I hate this
But
game.
the thing is, a video game, it's different every... it's the same thing. You're learning patterns.
Right.
And I'm going back to the old 80s, not these type of video games now that you don't win. You go into a world of fantasy.
I don't get that at
I
all.
don't fucking either. And they sell incredibly big. And I've done some gruff voiceover Hey, fuck you. Hey, put that down. That's my only voiceover work that I can do. There's a documentary out now called Hey, I Know That Voice. And like Hank Azaria's in it, and then a bunch of people that you've never heard of before. Some of the people, like, you know, their cartoons. But there's like a whole industry of people who just do shit like that all day long.
Oh, just voiceover?
Just voiceover, like girls tend to play the little boys in cartoons. Yeah. And there's a whole industry of acting. It's really acting that you can get fat. You know what I mean? It's like the best. You can show up with a sandwich.
Get a new scar on your face. None of it matters.
Nothing matters. You can get gray hair and no one's yelling at you.
Eat a sandwich while you're doing it.
Yeah, there's not a younger version of you, but you've never done any of the voiceover stuff before?
I did one. I actually auditioned for one yesterday, but I booked. The only one I ever went out for was like a Campbell's Chunky Soup one, where I think I almost hit McNabb's mom with a car, and then they give me soup.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when I was doing the commercial with McNabb. I thought he was going to be, for some reason, I don't know why, I thought he was going to be in the booth with me. Like we were going to have to, like old-timey radio, we're going to do like a three-man skit.
Maybe you guys will become friends.
Yeah, we'll become buddies. We'll have a catch outside. My dad left when I was 3. Let's go have a catch. But no, it never happened. I just sat in a booth by myself and had to react like,
and then, and they'll go like this. Like the way they do it is like they'll give you a thing like, it'll be like, hey, watch out, right? And then you got to give them 10 versions of hey, watch out. It'll be like, hey, watch out. Hey, watch out. Hey, watch out. And they're going like this. Yeah, keep going. And like, there's no, hey, I nailed it. Because you don't know what
they go,
they're going to do.
Good. We'll use one of those 50.
Yeah, and then they'll do like 50 things of you getting kicked in the balls. So you're like, oh, my balls. Ah, my balls. You know?
They got
awful.
A dangerous one with me. They go, now, on like the last take, we want you to kind of just improv what you say to me, but really, like, you know, like you're a real Philadelphia Eagles fan. And I go, well, I'm going to have to yell the N-word at this guy. Depends, are we coming off a win or a loss here? Am I trying to hit his mom with a car, or was it an accident?
How did you take the last Eagles game? Because you were never really into the season.
Yeah, so invested into it. I gave a tip of the hat, you know, just like I gave like a good season. That was overachieving. It was a cool, fun season, and they could have won that game.
They could have won. They should have won.
And they should have won. Yeah, the defense, you know, the whole on the team of the year like showed its face at the end of that game, and it was what it was. But I think we're going to be playoffs for a couple years now. I think it's a good run. You do never know, but I don't think they're going to tank it. Like, they have a lot of good players.
Well, you think that the people in Houston thought that they were going to have the worst season? You know, they felt like they were right there.
Yeah.
And then remember, in San Francisco, we acted like, well, they fell apart, but they're back. Baltimore's gone. Yeah. They didn't even make the playoffs, and they won the fucking Super Bowl. You don't know what's going to happen in this game. Here's another Philly news: they fired Wheels. Chris Wheeler is no longer the voice, the Phils.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sarge is out, but that should have happened. I know that sounds like racism, but it really should have happened. Oh, you found the Anthony Bourdain's World Food Market.
Yeah, he's starting to. I guess it's just one floor instead of, it's like a market instead of a building, like Italy, right? Italy's a giant building.
Where is it?
It's gonna be downtown.
Oh, is it going to be like weird, like cricket? You buy like a bowl of crickets or something?
It's exactly what it's going to be. He wants to bring Singapore street food to New York. By the way, Italy's just one floor, I believe.
No.
It's just a big, giant place.
That place is going to be chock full of skinny jean, jerk-off Brooklyn nerds.
Well, it's weird. You can already go to Chinatown if you want to eat bad. You know, if you want to say, this is delicious, but you think I'll shit for 4 days, there's a place to do that.
Chinatown in New York, really, coming from Philly, really did show me that I hate Chinese food. It turns out, like real Chinese food.
Oh, yeah.
I like Americana stuffed into a paper thing, you know, like really like cubes of pork.
Right.
I like in my thing. I don't want to. Turns out I don't want them like actually like, you know, macheting it off a pig hanging in a window. I don't want that at all.
I don't want to ever see my food hanging up dead for a while before I get there. And I also am down there like this. Now, how are the tadpoles today? You know, you deep fry them, or can I get them steamed?
My daughter, her mother, I'll say, one thing that's been good for her is she has got her, she will try, like she likes snails and all kinds of weird things that I would never eat, which I think is good for a kid to be, have, like, you know, be willing to try that stuff. But I grew up straight like pizza, cheesesteaks.
Right.
Like,
When
very
your kid
comfort
has a
food.
good palate, though, the world's open to them. You should really try to make sure your kid enjoys food.
Yeah,
good food.
and she does. Yeah, she'll all over. It's all over the map. She'll go with it. She'll try any weird thing.
So here's what's bad for you. You grew up around the best comfort food in the country.
Yeah, the best.
And yet then you can't get it anywhere 15 miles out of that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you go somewhere, oh, they got a cheesesteak. No, they don't.
Oh, yeah.
They're lying
They
when they
are
say, we have a Philadelphia steak and cheese. No, you don't. You have some fucking shitty thing on a goddamn hot dog bun, and you should die for it.
Yeah, I had a nice Scottsdale, Arizona gave me the old, you got to go. These two guys from Philly opened
Right.
up, and then you want to go back there and just open the sandwich and slap it on their window. So when they come in
Yeah.
the morning, just be like, come clean this up, you animals. What do you call this?
See, I don't
There's
know.
nothing right about
stuck to our window.
I'm sure it
There's
happens
nothing
every
right about
day.
this. It should have happened every day.
That's what I call a Scottsdale morning.
Although I found one out in, and they were saying it's like it got voted by Travel Channel. It was called Phillies out in, I did Foxwoods.
Yeah.
And it's like 10 minutes away from Foxwoods, and there it's like some kind of, it has intertwined with the club, the comics up there. And the kid took me over there for a cheesesteak, and they do a combination chicken cheesesteak, regular cheesesteak. That was pretty amazing. It was delicious. They're
And
pretty
the roll
small. The roll they bring it in from Philly, yeah, Amoroso roll. It's
All right.
it's solid. It's a really good
There's
sandwich.
places in South Florida and called Las Spadas, and they're dead on. They're from Chester originally, and they're dead on. But it's hard to find around the country.
It's hard to find a really good sandwich. I knew going into we go to a place out in Astoria, Sandwich King,
Sal Chris and Charlie's.
Sal Chris and Charlie's, yeah. And when you go there, you walk in there, you know you've hit a good sandwich shop. It's that thing where it's like your eyes hurt from onions and like you smell the meat and everything, the cured meat. Me and DeRosa were in San Fran, and everybody talking about this sandwich shop in San Fran we had to go to. It starts with an M. I don't remember it. We had to take a number, and we went to go look in a bookstore for 40 minutes. That's how long the line was in this place. But when I walked in, I didn't smell that smell, and the sandwich was horrible.
Right.
An hour wait for a really terrible. I'm like, how does no one know this is a terrible?
Because they live somewhere else.
They're meats, so they go, if you want all the Italian meats, we put them all. Every one of them, it was head cheese, which is the grossest thing I've ever seen. Like 3 different meats that had gelatin in it. And then one was like a piece of bologna that had a piece of prosciutto like smashed into it. Like it was gross. It was like 4 different kinds of
the
like
people there
combo
love it.
meats. They waited in line. I almost threw my Joe DeRosa, and then I decided
You should have.
A lot of sandwich throwing.
he paid. I know he paid for it, or else I would have
But
punched him in the stomach.
because it was
If I
all
paid
his
for it,
idea.
I would have punched him right in his
Did you at
stomach.
least get a good book?
No,
Sit there and read the Sports Illustrated, just standing up.
no, just walked up a 90-degree hill in San Francisco for the shittiest sandwich I've ever had in my life.
Hey, Matt in Boston.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, just curious. Am I the last person to figure out that if with Chinese, not to bring it back from Italian to
Go
Chinese,
ahead.
but Chinese takeout food, if you take the metal handle off the top of it, you can unfold the box that the food comes into a plate?
Why would you?
Well,
What's wrong with
I
eating
agree.
out of the box like
I
you're...
agree.
yeah.
I always thought that's why they
Why
gave
do you
you
eat out of the box like you're writing
but-
sitcoms in the 1950s? I got a great idea right now. No, I wouldn't unfold. I guess you could unfold anything into making it a plate.
I'm just saying, try it. I know.
No, I'm going to use a real plate. I'm going to take it home.
It's brilliant.
Just try it, man.
Please,
Come on.
for the love of God.
Look, this was an internet meme. People just blowing people's minds. Like, oh my god, it's actually a plate.
All right, let's say you don't
That's
finish.
not a plate. That's a fucking cardboard
Maybe I'm
thing.
simple. Maybe I'm simple.
It's an unfurled thin box.
Thanks, buddy.
And you can't have any leftovers, because how do you reconstruct that back into the carton?
There's a diagram. Look.
Even the guy kind of ran from it, though. He's like, all right, you're right. It's a terrible
Fuck
idea.
me, I just, throw it out something.
All right, just like to say hi.
All right, this is the guy that's going to come to New York. His name is Dustin.
Nice.
He gave the cell phone. I don't really know what else I need. Please let me know if y'all need anything. He's going to be great.
From where?
He's from someplace in Indiana, I think.
Yeah.
He says he's been on the road to Evanston.
I'm
So
going there. I'm going to Indianapolis. Was it Crackers, the place out there?
Maybe you could hook up with this guy. Maybe he can tag along with you for a while.
I'll give him a guest spot. I'll give anybody a guest spot.
Come on in and do 5. You'll be driving me too. Pick me up at the hotel.
My first going on the road to do a 5-minute guest spot was for Lisa Lampanelli, and in 2 minutes she had me taken off stage and told me I stole her closer. I was like, I don't know you.
That's the best fucking story I've ever heard in my life.
So you stole my closer? I go, I've never met. I haven't seen your closer yet. And they removed me from the weekend.
What was the bit? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. It was it's actually a pretty funny thing. What happened with this? I did when I first started, all my jokes were about being fat, which is like we actually found tape recently, like really early on. I am total wiggered out. I am wearing FUBU jerseys.
Oh, we gotta put that up, dude.
Oh.
We gotta put it up.
I'll send you a screenshot. It is. There's pictures online. There's like me doing Bad Boys of Comedy, wearing like online. Definitely of me wearing like a Sean John and my short spiky hair and all. And it was it's pretty ridiculous. But we shit. I lost my train of thought. I'm too much of a stoner.
It was your fat bit.
Yeah. So I'd go. All my jokes were about being fat. And then I had a joke about not Philadelphia being the fattest city, but just fat people in general need to band together. And it was a time of a moped on Mondays. It was around the time of Million Man March.
Yeah.
So especially in the black comedy clubs where I was, all the jokes were about. There was a lot of million, it's like,
right.
Oh, like gay people are getting out of the Million Gay March and all, and just like all these jokes people make about whatever. And I said the Million Pound March was the fat joke. Hey, fat people should have a Million Pound March. And it was an awful, awful joke that was probably done 1,000 times over. And I end up in Ohio trying to impress my deadbeat father. I'm like, oh, I'm going to show him that I made something. Even though he left, I made something myself. So I go to, it's called like Funny Farm. It was like a hotel lobby, shitty comedy club. And Lisa, but I've never met her before. This is before she hit any kind of level of fame. I'm going back, again, 15 years ago. And all I have is 5 minutes of jokes. And I get guest spots for the weekend at this place. And I go up there and I do the Million Pound March joke. And they give me the light immediately. And I get off. And she brings me out in front of the manager and goes, you stole my closing bit. And I go, which? She goes, the Million Pound March. That's my closer. I go, I've never seen you before. I go, I won't do it anymore. She goes, well, you never seen me? He goes, well, you probably stole it from someone who stole it from me. He goes, a lot of thieves don't know where they stole jokes from. And I was like, I was like, wow, this, even at like a few months into comedy, I was kind of like, it's kind of an easy, shitty joke, right? Like, we all kind of know I'm just a new guy, right? Like, this isn't supposed to be that great yet. But, through time and being in New York and the scene, like, I years later got to know Lisa and we became like friendly enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she even remembered me as that guy from that weekend. It was so like random in Ohio, even,
right.
and then I met her later in New York and we never really mentioned it. But I was like watching David Brenner's last special where he got married at the end. Do you remember that?
No.
He did a special in Vegas. You don't watch all Brenner's stuff?
No, I love him, but I missed that one.
He did one where in Vegas where he gets married at the end of it to a young girl. And I'm watching it, just had it on the background one day. I still live in my mom's house in Philly. This is how early in the comedy this was still, though. And I go, he does a joke where he goes, Philadelphia is the fattest city in the world. In fact, they're planning a 1 million pound march on Washington. And so I was like, oh, this would be a funny way to tell Lisa that, that I'm that guy, if you remember the story. and great. So as a joke, I call her. This is insane. I go, oh, Lisa, I'm just watching David Brenner's special. Like, he stole your 1 million pound March joke. And she goes, that Jew prick, he saw me one time in Vegas, that son of a bitch, and I knew he was watching me and taking she really believed he was. I was like, oh, she didn't get that's a very easy, common, all right, never mind, Lisa. I just let it go. Like, she goes, oh, that prick, that motherfucker watched me one time, he stole. Oh, great.
I love the fact that you've taken this awkward thing now and made it last like a decade and a half.
Yeah, me and her have never talked about it still. I don't think she knows I'm the guy.
I'm sure she probably doesn't, it's just like one moment out of her life, but to you, because you would know.
Oh, everything like that happened. Yeah, you never know. You make an enemy for life out of some guy. You just gave a scrappy little head. She's like, you'll be fine.
You bringing up your bad dad thing reminded me. We got to give out a prize for yesterday's bad dad contest, which we thought, because Chris Stanley, the guy came in, William H. Macy, and he plays the Frank Gallagher.
Shameless, yeah.
And fucking Chris was saying that when he watches that show, he feels like he's watching his own dad.
Literally.
That your dad was Frank Gallagher.
Yeah, he's a alcoholic con artist. And then, and I fucking let Mr. Macy know that, look, dude, you're my dad. Jesus Christ, do you even realize what you're doing? And my dad was exactly like Frank Gallagher.
You didn't say it like that to him, did you? You're my dad.
It was that weird and uncomfortable. It was.
You pointed him in the chest and said, "You're my dad."
And later, Mitch was like, "Yeah, your friend there's a little odd. Huh? He's a little high strung. He's got me confused with somebody."
You owe me a lot of birthday presents, Dad.
Can you make up for these memories?
I looked over the list of, and your father was no fucking special guy.
He just split and was like, I'll be there and then not be there.
But do you think that makes you a better dad now, or?
Yeah, absolutely. But then you feel kind of shitty. Like, do I operate out of pure fear? Like, do I rush home to make sure I see her when she gets home from school just because I don't want to look like a dick? Or am I actually not a dick?
Hey, Dad's here. Not like my dad, right? It's true, but I think we do all of our parenting based on I'm going to do just what that person did, or I'm going to do just the opposite.
And I do like pointing it out too. Like before I leave, before I have to go say, all right, I have to go to work now. But how many other dads were here at your Girl Scout play?
Right.
None. Remember that. Tell all your little black friends, and then I leave.
Right. Doesn't matter that the game didn't go the way you wanted. We're a family.
Oh, she played soccer this year.
Yeah.
She was the goalie.
Oh,
and she got housed shelled. 8-0 often.
Right.
And I do comedy on Saturday nights if I'm in town.
Yeah.
Till 3:30 in the morning. And she plays out in Long Island. So by the time I'm getting 2 hours of sleep and waking up just feeling horrible to go watch her. I know she's going to just get killed. And it doesn't all that stuff that matters like on the back end. Like right now, she couldn't care less if I was there or not. Doesn't mean that much to her. Like now, but like for when she's like, 22, she's going to be like, my dad was a really good dude. Always came to all my games. And that's like, it's an investment in that. Her not being like a 22-year-old prostitute or something.
No, you're exactly right. That you will. A lot of times you don't even figure out how good your parents did until you have kids yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And then you look around and go, wow, this is impossible. My parents didn't do so bad. You know what I mean? But before that, you bitch about them the whole time.
Yeah, and it's also funny, though, is you also don't realize, like, the bad. Like, I didn't realize, like, my dad kind of didn't give a shit until I was, like, 17 or something.
Right.
When I was 13 and you wouldn't call on your birthday, you're like, he's busy, man.
Right.
My mom reminded me the other day, so when she told me that she was going to, like, I think I was, like, 10 or 11, and she said that she wanted to tell me first. She goes, hey, listen, I'm going to, like, take your dad to court because I'm going to garnish his weight. We're going to make sure he's giving money for you.
Right.
Weekly. She goes, I just want you to know that before I do. And she said that she told me that I fought with her, being like, he's got a very expensive furniture bill. You can't do that. So no. She's like, we have a furniture bill, you idiot. It really makes you feel bad later.
We always protect the worst parent.
Because you don't want to believe he's like a dildo.
Right, and then you're just like, oh, it's so great. He came to this one thing. And you're yelling that to the woman who's always there for you.
It is. My mom did a great move when I was 11. She goes, go live with him. Yeah. 6 months that lasted before he didn't want me there anymore. I didn't want to be there. His new wife did not want me there at all. Like, it was 6 months. He took me obligatory and then sent me right back to Philly.
That's amazing that she was able to figure that out, though. You know what I mean? So, like, hey, go like it. If that's what you're into, go give it a try.
Well, I thought it was going to be the shit. It was horrible.
Yeah. And, Chris, you wish that your parents didn't stay together.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of times I thought that, why was my mom staying with this crazy maniac who was just fucking running scams, never working? It's very odd.
All right, I'm going to read off some of these and see if we would even pick them out. Here's Chef Darren talking about his bad dad. He pulled a shotgun on my older sister, then 13, and myself, threatening us since we were too dumb not to know the name of the new Bruce Springsteen album.
Understandable. Why would you bitch
Was this in
that?
Jersey?
I'm sure.
If it was in Jersey, I get it.
Sure. How could you fuckers not know? It's darkness on the edge of town, goddammit. You know what's really great? It's the exact opposite of what Bruce would want his work to do. My dad worked a shitty job 45 hours a week, coached my soccer team, make sure we went on vacation every summer, and then tried to commit suicide in front of my 16-year-old sister.
He's going through some stuff.
Oh, that's Glenn Fa. Here's Momo. Wow, my dad was an alcoholic who beat my mother and younger siblings. I will never forget him kicking my little brother in the head from one room to another during one of his rages. Tarian, he borrowed my identity when I was still in high school and used it for 6 years to work as a contractor doing projects for his own company. He decided that paying taxes on these earnings, $348,000, wasn't all that important. Now the IRS is after me.
Oh, shit.
Jesus.
Here's Rex Start. When a car accident killed my two brothers in '63, my folks adopted me. My dad resented me because I wasn't his. He only agreed to the adoption for my mother's sake. When he was on his deathbed, he wouldn't see me.
What an asshole.
We can't have a winner of this contest, just losers. My beer says, my dad pulled my arm out of the socket for washing the car wrong and then broke my collarbone because it was a Tuesday. Dalton, heroin addict for a dad. Halloween at 4 years old, he threw tombstones at me and my brothers. Names on them in our front yard. Left me and my brother in a car in West Baltimore with a hooker to sell heroin. Why are we laughing at these?
Absurdity.
These are just terrible. Terrible. These are all up on the iBang, and I'm going to try to make it through some of these without tears, but who would be winning for you right now, Chris, if you had to...
Dalton's pretty good for him throwing the tombstones at them and leaving the hooker.
I think holding a shotgun on you.
I think that's pretty strong, but Chris always remembers just the last one that came up. In third grade, my father blamed me and the family for the family going to Disney World with his unhappy, unpredictable ass, and continued to blame me through early adulthood. I hadn't done anything except for been the other male in the household. Heather said, when I got my period the first time at 12, my dad called all of his drinking buddies and family members one by one and told them, Heather's a woman. Yeah, she's got her rag now.
Oh, God.
It sounds like he was proud.
My dad is this is casual. My dad is the worst person who ever walked the planet. He was a pedophile who touched my older sister, his stepkids. My mom used to tell me stories of how he used to make babies suck him. Oh, God.
All right, there we go. We found a...
You call the cops or you give him a prize?
Jesus Christ.
That's harsh.
This goes on and on. It's just really awful. But he died of cirrhosis of the liver, and his third wife had him buried in a VA cemetery that nobody went to. I can't even do these.
Christ, man.
All these are just terrible, one after another. But
do these people think that maybe they weren't great kids, though, too?
Yeah, I'm sure the baby.
Maybe some of them had it coming.
Those really bad car washers.
Yeah, beer had it coming.
By the way, I never did one thing around the house well, ever.
But to bring, like, any kind of levity to this, like when you do start to wonder, like, where, as you become an adult and you try to, like, put some blame on yourself, like, my dad, in the limited times we did, like, spend together when I was a kid, I was such, like, a weirdly neurotic. I may have said this on the air before that I was, like, afraid of, like, weather, like, bad weather would scare the shit out of me and just make me freak out, like, literally wig, like, scream and, like, Rain Man out, like, bang my own head. And he brought me with his new family to Disney World, like, kind of had to bring me along. He was always one of those things, like, my mom would be like, hey, are you going to Disney World without your son? He'd be like, oh, yeah, come on. And we were in Disney World for, I think, 5 minutes. And then it started raining, and I just had to skits out, and we had to leave the park. So I'm sure that is a little eye-rolling for him to be like, this kid sucks. Like, all right, the first one didn't come out great. Maybe the next ones will be all right.
I had a nephew lose his shit in the Philadelphia Zoo because there was thunder and lightning. He just went running off through the fucking animal cages.
Oh, my God.
At one point, we just saw him. He was up, like, higher than us, and he's just screaming down, come on! And we were just laughing our balls off. That's the thing, that all the things that you really want to hit kids for, you could also just laugh at them for being so stupid and unfucking helpful.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many times, like, you have to look at your kids and you're thinking, what was I thinking that I could take this on?
Oh,
This is a fucking adult's job. I had my kids when I was in my early 20s. I'm like, what? I
Yeah,
look
me
back
too.
now, I'd smack the shit out of that guy.
Yeah, no, me too. It's similar. I remember like her as like a toddler like crying, and me realizing that if I was like really like getting like losing my shit, and I banged my head against the wall one time, and that made her stop crying, and that'd be like a thing from then on. She'd cry if I could bang my head against the wall. She would like be like taken back by that, and
Sure, it's
stare
two
and
babies together.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean,
You're
you know,
exactly right.
When you see someone in your family like lose their shit, like I can't do this anymore,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, what? Big Jay Oakerson is sitting in with us. His podcast is Legion of Skanks, and all of his tour dates are at bigjcomedy.com. Here's one from Liz Sets Fire, who we all know.
Yeah.
First few years of my life, my dad was in prison. My mom left him, and then he moved away when I was about 8. I didn't see him again until I was 13. He was out when I got there, so I waited in the back until he got back. Then he showed up. He didn't recognize me, and he started flirting with me.
Oh.
I don't know if it was worse that he was flirting with his daughter he didn't recognize, or that he was flirting with a 13-year-old. I saw him one more time at age 16. And when I was 21, my aunt sent me an article of a woman that was missing that had last been seen with my dad.
Oh, no.
Eventually found out that he didn't kill her. All right. Yeah, Liz.
Looks like someone isn't winning.
He met some barfly that wanted to leave her husband, so my dad hitched a ride with her down to Mexico so he could catch a flight back home to Brazil because he was wanted in the States. He can't ever come back here. He'll go to prison. God.
No, he just hangs out at Carnival.
I bet Liz was one adorable 13-year-old, though. Well, these stories.
If you had to hit on a 13-year-old, there's the way to
Oh,
play
yeah.
it.
There you got one. With her with her little baby tattoos that she had.
Your listeners are awesome, by the way. When I was at Foxwoods, Shrekalov flew out from Arizona to like hang out with some friends there and came to my show. Which I thought was pretty cool.
She actually wrote to me yesterday that she knows Frank Thomas, and then she hung out with the Phillies in 2007.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems like a weird, like, just went on their tour bus or something.
No, I think
Like,
she was.
2007, I wrote.
She was friends with one of the players.
Really?
Yeah. She's very interesting.
Woman about town.
Yeah, she is. We got to take a break here, Chris?
Yeah, we should take a break.
Why don't you say something nice about Big J before we go to break?
Big Jay Oakerson's the man, and you can see him at Crackers in Indianapolis, January 22nd through January 25th. For tickets, go to crackerscomedy.com. And he's playing Helium in Philly, February 5th through 8th.
Chris, who are we giving the prize out to?
Look, it has to go out to Casal for the pedophile baby sucker. Even saying that makes me feel
I
bad.
think the worst thing we've ever given a prize out for. What was the prize they got?
The prize was World's Greatest Dad, signed by the director Bobcat Goldthwait.
Wow.
Seems like a real
Wow.
prize to give.
Save it for Father's Day.
Casal, you got a DVD coming your way, baby. Sign.
We'll be right back. It's the Ron and Fez Show.
They wouldn't give like a signed basketball.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Ron and Fez on Raw Dog. SiriusXM Comedy Hits. Channel 99.
It's the Ron and Fez Show, 866-RON-0-FEZ. 866-RON-0-FEZ. Big Jay Oakerson is sitting in with us. Any chance that we get to have Big Jay stop by, we do it. And, I wish you were here yesterday because Jeffrey Garian was here talking about comedy and what it means out there.
Comedy matters.
Remember, comedy matters.
One of my favorite things ever was the first time I met Jeffrey was years ago. I opened for Attell at Caroline's, and and Jeffrey Garian walks in from the cold, all bundled up with his hair. And Attell looks over his shoulder. He goes, "Good, Dog the Bounty Hunter's here." And just walked in, just ran away, like goes back in the back room.
Jeffrey's everywhere.
Such a staple.
Everywhere. everywhere. And he's going to be dropping by here and doing some stuff with us. Now, you've been doing comedy for how long?
15 years?
15 years. Shelby, you've been doing comedy for 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, about 4 actually.
And you
Maybe
wrote up a
less.
piece on the iBang about clean comics. And you admire the clean comics?
Yeah, I do. Just because it's so much harder, it seems, to be able to like fill up a full hour of like clean comedy.
So, what do you define as clean comedy?
I'd say for this argument's sake, I say no, like excessive, like detailed drug or sex talk, and I'd limit it to like if you had an hour special, the dirtiest thing you'd hear might be like 2 carefully placed like F-bombs.
Well, that's not clean if you have carefully placed F-bombs.
Yeah, but I'm more taken back by is the criteria was no like drug talk. I was like, you could do an hour of drug talk and have it be a super clean set necessarily. I don't know how
Can you talk
interesting
about alcohol?
Yeah.
Can you talk about incest?
I would not touch on that.
If you say you're against it, I'm always surprised by this, and I have no idea whether Jay would agree or not. But I give no extra props to somebody who works clean. That's just a fucking choice. It doesn't mean shit to me.
It's a choice, but I'm taken back when someone has the skill to be edgy and like hold your stomach funny,
right?
With being like pretty squeaky clean. Very few pull it. I mean, Regan was the obvious, and then Nate Bargatze is it all?
No, I don't know.
Nate Bargatze, he just went out to L.A. I think he's going to come back to New York pretty soon, but he is just a really just hilarious. From Tennessee, but it's edgy. It's really funny and it's squeaky clean. But one of the very few people. For me, I've always laughed at the person who made comedy look fun for me was Dice, who was so over the top. As an adult now, I'm doing this for a long time now. I was like, I see the holes in his game, but I still there's not a chance I'll ever watch Dice do at least 5 minutes where I won't laugh out loud. It's just a ridiculous choice of words.
Well, see, that's the thing. To say Regan is talented would be true no matter what the fuck he was doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure Regan could come out and do an hour on anything. But I think a lot of clean comics are those boat acts who are really doing it to make money, or corporate comics.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you would give that the extra prop.
Like, I think you can just tell, like, oh, I'm listening to a clean comic, but if, like, somebody like Gaffigan or Regan, the best ones at it, you don't even realize when you're thinking it, oh, yeah, I'm listening to, like, a, clean, no swearing act.
I'm looking up on your list that you have on the iBang right now, and on the comments, people are busting your balls for no Seinfeld.
We all know
Oh, we don't know Regan? We don't know Gaffigan?
Yeah, we do, but I mean, Seinfeld, yeah, I'd say he's, like, clean, but it seems like in the stand-up world, like, he's, like, bigger than bigger.
Bigger than bigger. No. You're saying he's very big. It's too big for you to use as an example.
I would argue that Seinfeld's a bit dated in his, like, when I go back and watch, like, Seinfeld, like, jokes, I'm never that, like, bold. The show was fantastic, obviously, and he's clearly, like, a big talent, but, like, I've never been huge. Even when I was a young person, like a big fan of comedy. Even like the Dangerfield special he was on, like I thought Robert Townsend made me laugh a lot harder. Dom Irrera made me laugh a lot harder than Seinfeld in that special. Dice was on that one, I think, too. But I saw your list, and I did see, I was going to say, the other person I would say besides Nate Bargatze, who you should, Shelby, look up to is Bargatze, but is you put Gary Goldman on there, which I was going to say Gary's another one who's just like really powerhouse funny, like really and just really clean. I remember Gary went through a phase where he started, like, he had a girlfriend at the time that got in his head a little bit and made him like it was a girl who dated Rick Shapiro at one point. You know Rick Shapiro, was it all? And Rick's like just so off the wall and that, like, I feel like she was kind of like getting into Gary's head about being more like political savvy, or go up there and really say something. That's another annoying thing you hear. Well, he's not really saying anything up there. It's like, who cares, man? Is it a hilarious, pussy joke? Then say it. Who cares? But, like, the thing is, but I think it got in his head, and for a minute he would, like, he had these great jokes about just like whatever it may be, like, you know, the evolution of the Oreo, which is like a brilliant joke. And then in the middle of the joke, he'd be like, you know, there's fucking 2 wars going on, and we're up here talking. And he just gets there, and it's like, and he seemed to just kind of came back to like his wheelhouse of just writing fantastic jokes that are about, like, you know, whatever it may be, and he's really fantastic.
Yeah, you can tell his whole bit is like really polished, like everything, like his entire hour, and you're not like losing interest or anything because like just the way he talks and his language.
Well, who's the most polished comic that you've ever seen? Because I'd make the case for Carlin, that Carlin wrote as if he was writing a play. And if you saw Carlin 2 nights in a row, it'd be like seeing a play 2 nights in a row. And normally you would think that was awful, but he was fantastic at it.
Yeah, Christine used to work at Comedy Magic Club, and that's where he worked out in Hermosa, LA.
Is that right? And you would watch him put it together?
Yeah, he would just be in
Grab it, just send a mic over.
You'd walk past the green room and you would just hear him back in the green room, like, reciting. He would write everything down and he would rehearse it like a monologue. So you'd walk by and you'd hear him, like, rehearsing his lines, and then you'd hear him go, fuck shit, and then you'd have to go back and do it again.
That's amazing.
That's so weird to me because I couldn't be less regimented in what I do, or else I hate it. Then I feel like I'm being in a play or acting, and I don't like either of those.
But
things.
it's really weird that I think no matter what direction you go to it, if you commit, then you're an artist. You know what I mean? Like if you commit to improv, then it's something. But if you get lost and you just don't feel like doing your act and you're fucking around, you know that person's not being an artist. That person, they're just being a regular guy. You know what I mean? Who's fucking off at work.
Yeah,
you know?
I think with Carlin at work, because at the end he could kind of use all his things and summarize it into like one big theme that he wants to get across, instead of, I have like a big closing joke and then I'm just out. Like he makes you leave thinking of something.
I saw him one night. He came out anti-rich people, and it was New Year's Eve, so the money was way fucking big, and I got to open for him, and he was like an idol to me when I was a little kid. So this was like the only reason why I took the gig is that I was going to open for fucking Carlin. This was going to be great, and I just wanted to have a great set. Then I met him, and he was great, and he went out and he did all these like anti-rich people jokes, basically in front of rich people, because we're in this big theater, and you saw they were not with him. And 5 minutes is going by, 10 minutes, and I'm fucking cracking up in the back, going, he's fucking machine gunning these people. They're not laughing, and he doesn't give a fuck. And then, you know, at a certain point, you know, the material just changed a little bit because that's where it went, and they just start rolling in the aisles. They just forgave him of the fact that basically he told them that their life was just greed filled for 15 minutes. But I thought it was amazing to watch somebody, what you could even say was digging a hole, but he was just being himself, and he wasn't selling any less when he was dying than when he was killing. You know what I mean? He was in the same place.
But it's so funny that people who are so judgmental of comedy, like in one way, where it's just like, you know, it's like, oh, what do you know, we were saying before, like, what are you saying up there? What are you really saying? And Carlin would have these big conceptual pieces,
right?
With that, but like, the guy also still wasn't afraid to just throw out a fart joke. I mean, like, he did a lot of, like, you know, goofy faces and like a lot of silly, ridiculous stuff that was like, it depends. I think a lot of times what you'll be okay with the time you come into comedy too. So it becomes like what you were a fan of. Like, I promise, people who started with Dice Clay thought he was a shitty joke from the beginning. I came in at an interesting time because I was able to watch like a Dane Cook when I first started and be like, this guy annihilates. You'd be envious of that. And then because I didn't have any, the same way I'd watch Carrot Top as a kid and be like, I'd be excited when Carrot Top was going to be on a show.
You were without prejudice.
Because I just didn't know. Now, you know what it's like. It's like, well, I know why people shit on Dane Cook, but like, I have no personal ill. It's never affected me.
Right.
That's the kind of thing when I see someone who you like, when you're watching, you're like, well, this guy's going to go nowhere with that bullshit. And then they shoot like right, but they skyrocket past you. Like, holy shit, man. Like,
because you just really don't know, you know? Like,
I mean, I worked with, what's his name last night? Aziz. And Aziz, like, I mean, open mic to celebrity.
Yeah.
And, you know, that doesn't just make your comedy grow. Like, then you have to become a good comic when you come on stage, people are like pumping, you know. I was talking to Artie Lang about that.
And
last night.
Aziz, you can already see that he doesn't want to be attached to the shit that he was doing a couple years ago. Like, when I go, how's your cousin? He goes, that was an old bit, so I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't want to go out and act like I'm the guy from 2 years ago, which is really weird for audiences to understand. You know,
because he has to go through like his growth all happens like under the spotlight of like people. Like I brought him on stage yesterday, and the place, he was like, he just dropped in, to come on, and the place fucking exploded. When I shook his hand as he came to the stage, I said to him, I go, that must have felt fucking amazing. It's like
but he's used to it probably right now.
But isn't that amazing? I said before, I said I was talking to Artie Lang last night, and I said to him same thing. Where I was like, I don't know what that feels like. Yeah, the best I get when I'm headlining, there's pockets that I feel get very excited when I come on stage, and then if I'm doing something blanket, like I'm doing the Patrice benefit, I know when I come on stage at that, I'll get a big ovation because people in those circles, because of the other people on the show, because of Bill Burr and all those people, like I've worked with these guys, I've known these guys for a long time, doing this show, things like that. It's very much my audience who will be like happy to see me. But if I just go into like, I'm not like, oh, guess who just dropped in? Most people will be like, should we give a fuck about this?
Explain this Patrice show to people around the country that might not know about it.
The benefit, they do a benefit. They did it last year, was the first one. It's going to be at the New York City Center on February 18th.
And unbelievable people.
The lineup's going to be pretty sick.
These are all Patrice's best pals who, and this is the kind of shit where you just try not to get too sentimental about it, but it means so much that those guys are still thinking about his chick and his family and stuff. And
I just his mom. Together. I saw his mom at Foxwoods. Just kind of bumped into her. One day, and it was great to see her. It's like it was really that was a toughie because I said it was like we spent all the holidays, especially at this time of year. You know, we'd go over Patrice's for Thanksgiving every year and stuff. So it was like a weird to be bummed out about that. But it's gonna be a really great night. Yeah, and Bill just does like an amazing thing, and it's sold out. I think. Super quick.
Sold out super quick.
They were asking me like, "Hey, make sure you pump it on Twitter and stuff." Like, yeah, I'm sure my Twitter, my 6,000 Twitter followers are going to make the difference. Like, I'm sure Bill's got it covered.
I think it's so cool though that everybody's getting together for that show.
It's going to be great, yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Big Jay sitting in with us. Fez wants to do some plugs for you.
Big Jay, his website, Big Jay Comedy. That's where you can get his tour dates, including Big Jay performing at Crackers in Indianapolis. That's the 22nd through the 25th. CrackersComedyClub.com. And then Big Jay's back at Helium Comedy Club in Philly from February 5th through the 8th. HeliumComedy.com. And there's the podcast, Legion of Skanks. That's on iTunes and CaveComedyRadio.com.
All right, so did we put up on the iBang did they get to it? This is Big Jay as a youngster doing the comedy. And keep going. It's a comedy bump. It's Comedy Bump Big Jay, which, by the way, I wish that I just saw this without knowing that it's you, because from just the still picture, I wouldn't have guessed.
Really?
That it was you, yeah.
It's so,
See, everyone's here, though, man. They're black people and white people and some miscellaneous shit mixed in.
Boom.
That's strong.
Some other stuff. And them. Black and white racism. Is it ever going to end? No. It's not. It's one thing holding us back. Because if you look at the cultures, they're mixing. All the clothes, the same shit. The music's the same shit. Fear. Black people and white people fear different shit, and that's what holds us back. We don't understand each other's fears. That's the truth. It is. I'll give you a good example of those fears. My friend Kareem. He's black. Now, I saw Kareem fist fight a guy that had a gun. A guy put a gun out. Kareem fist fought him. He wasn't afraid of that shit at all. But Kareem is petrified, pigeons and squirrels. Now,
all right, let me just say this. This is strong, dude.
This is like 11 years. I think it was about 4 years in the comedy.
Teach him how to pause.
Pause.
Hit fucking pause. You goddamn bug-eyed little bastard.
You're missing the best part.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Come on.
This is why you can't be in this room yet. First, you kind of let him, well, Seinfeld's bigger than bigger. So, I didn't say Seinfeld because he's bigger than bigger. And that was your thing. That's how you came into the room.
I guess Seinfeld's a big clean.
No one ever brings it up. That Seinfeld had a big show.
They don't bring that up. I mean, you rarely hear it.
Now you're just trying to speak loud, and it's off-putting.
Clean comedy's better.
Big J, you only used to work in front of black audiences for how long?
First 2 years.
And by the way, your delivery is pretty similar now.
To this here?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's your regular speaking voice.
I had a. I know it's about this particularly. If I ever hear it, sometimes on like Raw Dog when they play my clips, I say the word shit at the end of everything. So I'm walking with my friends and shit to the store and shit. And we, we do and shit. I say and shit at the end of everything.
That you should be the and shit guy. That should be your thing.
You just and apostrophe shit.
And
my
shit,
t-shirt.
and shit, and shit, and shit.
There was a. Yeah, I was but I got very in my comfort. But this was like actually what's funny is the tail end of it because what's interesting about this, I'm wearing that Sean John zip up short sleeve sweater.
He did it, baby.
And I came in not wearing that, but the whole idea of this show was Bad Boys of Comedy was run by Puff Daddy or P. Diddy. And it was really a big advertisement for his clothes. Is what it turned out to be. So everybody had to wear Sean John clothing. So I purposefully I was coming out of the Wigger look. So I purposefully gave my wrong size, but they had the most ambitious costuming lady who dug through every box until she found one in the back. She had to dust off like an old book of like spells or something. And she opened it up and there was, in a XXX, they had the Sean John zip up short sleeve sweater and they made me put it on
That's
like over
crazy.
all my shit. So nothing. So I walk out there kind of shitty, and Dougie Fresh is beatboxing. And I just kind of stared at him until he would stop that willfully. And then I told two girls in the front row who were white, the only two white people, to go start the car because I was going to say racist stuff. They cut that part out. And when I hugged P. Diddy and told him we could share everything because he didn't like that. Black guys, a little homophobic.
They are slightly homophobic.
They don't like gay jokes.
Yeah. And yet, the DL. They're known for the down low.
True that.
You know? Anyone in prison, what the fuck? I gotta fucking hear. Then when I get out, it's back to the girls.
Gotta get a nut off, that's all.
I didn't think of it that way, Chris, but yes, you're correct.
Just drain it, you know?
Yeah, you summed it up in a way that it put the bow on the package that we need. And comedy matters because, I did too much tuna. They did that bit that took off. Fez got his feelings hurt yesterday. He felt like he got pushed out of the way by Jeffrey Gurian. He felt like Jeffrey Gurian came on the basketball court, took the fucking ball out of his hands, and then dunked on him.
I love Jeffrey. I texted Pepper during the show as I was driving to that audition. I was like, Gurian, shut up and let Colin say something.
Well,
he was answering Colin. You're like, Colin, how do you feel about it? He goes, well, I'll tell you how he feels. He's a mensch and a good man. And
he is a good man. Now, Colin, I first met you. Think back to 1983. All right, it was a different age. And, first of all, we were all dancing to the Go-Go's at the time. And and it was just really funny, but he just wanted it all to go so well that he was asking questions. Instead of just being like we are, he was asking questions like a fucking DA. Like he's asking questions that he knows the answer. Isn't it true, Colin, that you were a bartender at the club for 3 years? And isn't it also true that you met Mr. Jerry Seinfeld in 1986?
You should call the segment the Gurian Depositions.
And Fez was just sitting there stewing.
Oh.
Stewing because he felt like he wanted to finish his... I forget the fuck... Wow,
the 42 public shamings.
People who had the public shame.
Oh, when Gurian comes in a winter coat and takes off those leather gloves, buckle in.
Yeah.
Because he's going to tell you about some shit.
He's going.
He's going to cover a decade or two of information.
I just get the biggest kick out of him, man. I think he's hysterical.
Great.
Yeah.
He is great.
He's really the most positive guy.
He loves
around.
it. I mean, he just loves
everyone
being around stand-up.
Yeah, he's not...
Although he did say something yesterday that in the car, I definitely made like a, really? I thought it was a weird, because he said he doesn't watch sports or anything like that. And he's like, why watch? He goes, whatever watch. I'm a doer. Doers do. And it's like, I think you professionally watch comedy, though. I think it's like, it's not... But he does, because he's proactive in his blogging.
He does, and he reports back.
Does he do comedy?
Yeah, he does comedy, too.
He actually does it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But he was saying that he felt like, and Colin wouldn't understand what he was talking about. He was like, did you feel bad the way the comics razzed each other? He's like, no, that was the show. Was it awful? Was it awful when they would say terrible things to you? No.
He even got Colin to break the fourth wall a little bit there when he break the fourth wall when he did say, he's like, yeah, it hurts a little bit on the inside. You got legs. Like, don't even.
Why give it to him? Why even say it? Here's Rich. Rich, you're on the Run of Fez show.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you and Jay, because I respect both your opinions, and I had this conversation with friends of mine. We discussed it over a few pops, and two biggest names in comedy, clean versus dirty. Most of my friends saying Colin Pryor, the top two names in comedy, and I'd argued with them that Seinfeld and Cosby, they met wider range of people, 4 generations of comics, to emulate what those two did. I want to get your opinion.
So what is your point? I don't understand. You're saying the two top...
The clean comics are above the top two dirty comics. It's just the influence and the...
If you're going to tell me that you would take any two comics over George Carlin and Richard Pryor, I would have a very difficult time paying off that fucking bet. I really would.
Seinfeld and Cosby?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I'd have a tough time saying that if we're going to do tag teams, if it's clean versus adult comedy, tag teams, no.
Do you know what's his name? The guy calling?
Rich is calling from Yonkers.
What Rich is confusing, what I think a lot of people confuse in this scenario, is the outside of stand-up comedy success of. So, of course, Seinfeld's huge, Cosby Show was huge, and those are both really funny guys who did that thing. A lot of times people who are fantastic at comedy doesn't necessarily make them a good actor or anything like that. I think Attell is one of the best ever.
Right.
I think he's like a genius joke machine writer. Like, I don't know if he has a speck of acting ability. He's never had the sitcom. He's never had
most of the guys that went around and have toured for years is off of their sitcom. The sitcom has, same toured big venues. Mm-hmm. So when you go to see Cosby, you're going to see a great stand-up, but you're also going to see a TV star in your town, and that's a great night out. George Carlin never got over in anything but stand-up and toured theaters for fucking decades. It's impossibly hard to do.
In fact, the only squeaky clean act who's pulled off theater touring based solely off stand-up is Regan. I can't think of another one who's done
100%.
it. No one's ever done that, I don't think, besides him.
And I can't think of a bigger mistake that somebody hadn't said, hey, we need to make Regan the dad in this sitcom. It would have been the easiest... the uncomfortable dad.
Even those Disney Channel shows.
I feel like I could have wrote that fucking pilot on my way to the fucking pitch meeting. You know what I mean? He's a great guy, but he's uncomfortable and he doesn't know what to do with his kids' problems. It seems simple enough. But, Regan said the most amazing thing. He says, and this is the weird thing about fame. He said to me, so he'll be doing these theaters and there's 2,000 people and they're going fucking crazy, and then he'll leave there and go 5 minutes away to the Starbucks and be standing in line and no one looks at him. No one says a word to him. But the people there are, and out of all the unmasked that I've done, I think I've done like 70 or 80. The only people that ever brought were little kids. They brought their little kids was to Regan Unmasked, and these little kids were sitting next to their parents and listening to Regan talk about structuring jokes. You know what I mean?
That's it's amazing you could even have that.
It was amazing. I was looking up at these families, and it was almost, it felt like well, this really shouldn't be happening. But there would be like little kids that were 6 and 7 who were like listening to fucking Regan talking about structuring bits and just loving it.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that makes you like kind of shake your head. They played some Regan to lead into your show the other day, actually, and yeah, you know, it's funny as a pro stand-up. It's amazing how little stand-up comedy you see anymore here. Like, you almost have to forget. Yeah? You're almost like, oh yeah, and you listen, and you get to like be for just open to it again. But oh yeah, man, Brian's so funny, man. He's such a funny dude.
Well, you know, even the Tonight Show doesn't promote stand-up anymore. Like, it used to be almost on a weekly basis that a stand-up would break on the Tonight Show. Now maybe there's 4 or 5 times a year that they'll do a Letterman guy. You know, they're at the point where they'd rather Gaffigan came out and did panel with his stand-up, but just a guy walking out and grabbing the mic, they really don't want that on network TV the way they went.
No, and what's really amazing is the ones that they're giving that stuff to. So I think they're giving that out like that. That's the tide that has changed. I feel like in comedy was when I first got to New York. And I was young, and even at that time, you see, like, you know, this Bad Boys of Comedy thing. My mentors, when they'd be like, well, the Letterman people are coming around to look at people, they'd be, my people would be like, like Patrice and Keith Robinson, all those guys would be like, don't worry about that. Yeah, like, what are you going to do? You're going to go in there and do a set about your local yokel, like, young guy, no life experience, horseshit set on Letterman. He goes, wait till you have, like, a set to go out there and, like, make a difference with it, like, do something, you know, where you affect somebody, something. And I took that very to heart. And like, I did my first late night network last year, my first time. But I mean, there's 4-year comics and 3 and 5-year comics, like getting these Letterman spots. And like, I was in LA with my buddy, Ari Shafir, actually, and we sat and got stoned and just watched a bunch of Letterman things. And the difference between watching Gary Goldman's Letterman, Ted Alexandro, if you know who he is at all, like, these seasoned guys who go out there and kill it versus like, you know, and I wouldn't name anybody's name in a negative light, but just like some of these like newer, younger guys doing it, you're like, you just see the world. It's like this Letterman didn't do much for them.
Right.
Because they come off and they look uncomfortable when you come out there and you realize the crowd. These are all things where I walked in. I've been doing it long enough that I can assess right away, like, oh wow, the crowd's an odd, like, you know, distance away from you. They're all like the first row is way up high and far away. But you can drink all that in, and if they get weird in the beginning and they ooh and awe, I'm prepared to like turn that around or absorb it and take it in a different direction or whatever it is. Where these guys, you watch some people kind of sink with the ship or just do jokes that you've heard 1,000 times before done, just like, you know, the old this misdirection, you know, joke you hear a bunch of times. It's bizarre.
This is what you did, Fallon?
I did Fallon, yeah, but I'm saying, but
and that is a weird shaped studio. People don't realize that. That actually, I think, even went back to the old Letterman studio for when he did it.
Yeah,
and and Conan had it, and like even when Jimmy comes out and does stuff, he's not looking at the audience. You know what I mean? Like to really watch the show, you've got to watch monitors. To see what it feels like to actually watch the show.
What's interesting too, though, is like it is good for making you look good on TV because if you do play to the audience, you're looking up, so it makes you look very like you got to stand tall, rather than like frumping over and like, meh, meh, meh. But it was, I think a lot of people get that stuff. Like, I think getting things too early is not always. It becomes very forgettable.
How many people, you know, that got things really didn't work out? I mean, the only one that I could think. That I ever saw that came out under 20 but was ready was Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy at 19 felt the confidence of a guy who had been doing it for fucking 19 years.
But you know, it's fun. There's something good, I guess, about like a lot of people telling you and patting you on the back, telling you you're great.
Yeah,
is that if you're good enough, you could pull that off. But sometimes it gets. You will get weeded out. You have to have another skill set too. Like Eddie Murphy was able to sustain because then it turned out he could act. He could be funny. He was such a ball of confidence that he was able to turn it into a whole bunch of other things. He's also one of the few guys that pulls off comedy. It does not work very much anymore with zero self-deprecation.
Right.
Rare, outside of it being a character like a Dice.
Yeah.
Who could be, you know, I'm fucking all these hot chicks and whatever. Like, rare do you find a guy to connect with an audience who has like no humility whatsoever. It was all like my dick's big swagger,
Right.
walking back and forth and just like
isn't that
aggressive
the
and I'm
funny
the
thing?
shit, and it's so weird. You can't pull that off. You can pull it off at the end of a bunch of self-deprecation, but
Yeah.
somehow I'm still the shit, like
Right.
through all that.
I find nothing more annoying than somebody who just picks on something about themselves for a fucking hour. I just want to yell out, it's just fucking hair, dude. Stop talking about being bald, you fucking pussy.
No, you're absolutely
Some people
right.
can't walk, and you're fucking crying about a bald spot.
But that's also new. That's why you're not supposed to get it. Because if I would have done Letterman at 3-4 years in the comedy, my whole set would have been like, so I'm a fat guy. When they see me coming into the buffet, everyone's like, whoa, we didn't mean all you can, like whatever nonsensical bull, like when I sit around the house, I sit around. All my jokes were about that. If you fast forward to these sets that I have, just these home video sets that we found, it would be like me featuring for someone locally and doing like 25 minutes. And you could fast forward from a minute in till 11 minutes in, and you turn it on, and it goes from like, so I'm fat and being fat, and then it goes, and as a fat guy, you know how that's like. It doesn't matter where you stop. Like that was my one subject, because it is diffusing. Because then the audience, you feel like they can't heckle you because you've already taken the shit out of yourself so much, which is an easy tactic. That's the beauty of then getting your confidence to be like, well, here's some dumb shit about me, and I fucked up, and I was dumb. I thought I was going to get this chick, and I didn't. And then that's the beautiful thing is when someone feels that self-deprecation from you, and they feel like they can attack on it, like in the audience, you get the heckler, and that's what it's fun to be like, oh, no, but I've been doing this long enough that I am confident here, but like now you're in my wheelhouse,
right?
And I can dismantle you because I could say, I could tear myself down worse than you, and then still tell you how I'm better than you are and make you feel like that just comes with confidence and time. But I think that's why that's what's missing. The fake confidence is there in a lot of like new young people because they get up in front of each other a lot.
Uh-huh.
And then you get in front of a studio audience who doesn't quite get your Brooklyn reference, and then you're fucked. Like, then you're fucked on David Letterman.
I just like the fact that you would never see rappers just fucking start and be self-deprecating. You never see rappers. I don't think I'll date. I don't. They're not gonna.
Well,
fucking
it's the culture. That's why. I was probably one of 3 comics on that whole season of Bad Boys of Comedy that didn't put my imaginary dick into a fake stool woman because stool fucking.
That was big then.
Someone should do a sketch of like a trial. It's like a stool on the stand coming out. It's a class action suit against all black comedy.
Big Jay is sitting in with us. We're going to go to a break now and then come back and wrap it up. Fez, give us plugs.
Big Jay performing at Crackers in Indianapolis, Indiana, January 22nd through the 25th. CrackersComedyClub.com for information and tickets. And Helium Comedy Club in Philadelphia. That's February 5th through the 8th. HeliumComedy.com.
We'll be right back. It's Ron and Fez.
Ron and Fez on Raw Dog. Raw Dog. SiriusXM. Comedy Hit. Channel 99.
Ron and Fez Show, 866 Ron, 0 Fez. Big Jay Oakerson is sitting in with us today. God damn it, he knows about everything there is to know on the planet Earth. He really does have an opinion on everything. I am ready, Earth, to answer your questions, says Big Jay. Here's Chris Stanley. You've been quiet today.
Yeah. I've been hanging out in the booth for a little while.
You've been dealing with the technical side of things lately.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got there's problems with the online player. I'm passing that along to our engineering.
What's the
department.
problem with the online player?
It's been terrible all morning long. Channels are just disappearing completely from the actual online player.
It has nothing to do with our move. You're just saying it would be happening even if we were at the other channel.
The other channel is actually okay. Our channel there's problems with the Raw Dog channel on the online player.
It seems like that we didn't know this, but Raw Dog has been the bastard child of SiriusXM. We're going to put an end to that. We're going to put an end to this channel being overlooked.
Can you do that? Because I found out, I think the hard way is it's not on demand. They're not putting them out on demand?
Yeah, the show is on demand.
We are on demand.
Under what? What's just under Ron and Fez?
It'll be under Ron and Fez and Raw Dog. You can search for either.
It was not, as of yesterday, it was not in my on demand on the phone app. There was no Ron and Fez.
We're going to make sure we get feedback and fix everything. I think it didn't happen at first, but it may be now.
Nice.
But when you find out shit like that, let me know immediately. Because we'll battle for it. You got to battle for stuff. They're not going to give to you. You just have to say, here's what we expect.
Yeah, I would bum about that because I listen to it. Like I chop up. I listen to almost the whole episode every day, but like chopped over different car rides to Long Island from Long Island.
What we do want you to listen to us is just a little bit at a time. We never want you to really pay attention to what
Don't
we're
take
doing.
it as a whole piece.
You can follow on the new Twitter at Ron and Fez SXM on Twitter at Ron and Fez SXM.
That rolls off the tongue. Now, which one of us is going to be tweeting? That we haven't figured out yet either.
No, we don't know that.
That would be, so why would they follow us if we're not tweeting?
Just to follow any information that's going on with the show.
And who would tweet that?
Well,
in other words, the Twitter doesn't do it itself. One of us would have to tweet. So this is the weird things. We're promoting things that we haven't even put out there yet. Chris, I just thought of this. I'm going to take a picture of some scallops tonight. I'm going to be eating scallops.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to tweet that because I know people tweet stuff like that.
People like plating, like very good plating.
Birdie Dog is wearing snow boots, so I want to put some pictures of her out there.
That's adorable.
You'll love this dog. By the way, I just noticed this looking out the window that the Hudson is ice. And it's now starting to melt. I didn't even know. The last couple of days, our windows have been frozen shut, so we couldn't even see
on the inside,
New York City.
right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was scraping ice off of my office
And you wonder
window.
why you're having trouble with the on-demand.
I know. They can't even get installation correct.
You know what's funny? Although I heard a fact yesterday that made me breathe easier because when it gets like this, everyone starts going, climate change, we're all going to die. The oceans are coming in and we're all going to freeze over. But then you hear the record was, before yesterday, the record was only 2 degrees higher, and it was like an 1800 and something.
Yeah,
so
that's when it
that's
started.
fine.
That's when it all started.
That's fine, then, yeah. It was really bad.
They
that
had
long,
slaves
that's fine.
back then.
Yeah. Things are fine now.
It's going to be a process.
Yeah. Everything goes in cycles. We're going to have slaves again, and then the weather's going to get different.
Only this time, the slaves are going to be Dutch people.
Yeah. It's
Jared,
always a slight tweak.
you're on the Run and Fez show.
Hey guys, about the app, for what Jay was talking about, if you go under categories, under comedy, you can find it. It just says Ron and Fez. But, and I'm sure all that stuff is going to work out. But the main thing I've noticed is before on the other channel, and even when I switch back to O&A now, with you guys, it sounds like you're sitting right in the studio with you. I mean, it's crystal clear. And now on this channel, it's almost got a little bit of a buzz to it, like a distortion. It actually sounds like you're listening to the radio, so I don't know if there's anything you can do about that. But other than that, you sound like $1 million fucking.
All right, thanks. We are working. We've gotten some more bandwidth, and then you got to fight for that.
Yeah.
We've got Wiki on that for us. Greg in Kansas, you're on the Run and Fez show.
Ron, buddy, I don't care how bad the distortion is. Just having you back on the air is good enough. And Monday night at about 8 o'clock, I already downloaded Monday's show on my iPhone. So I don't know if Jay just hasn't got the new iOS on his or what, but yours, you can download it every day.
Jay smokes that weed. I'm not going to lie to you, so there could be problems with that.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know you could download them. I just streamed them on the on-demand.
All right, here's a guy from Drexel Hill who is offering to bring us cheesesteaks, roast pork, and broccoli.
When?
what we'll do, I'm going to write back to him and I'll invite him up on a day that you're in, and we'll sit and have a Philly party.
Oh, roast pork sharp Provi? Sounds great.
Chris doesn't know any of this fucking food.
I just know a story of fucking souvlaki. That's all I got.
You got to get out a little more, Chris.
No.
What's in your head today, too? I want to bring you into this. I'm worried about you. Seems like you're bottoming out.
Just threw that in there. Holy shit.
No, seriously, I'm worried that you're going to end up in rehab soon.
No rehab for me. They can't hold me. All right. So say you have to make this choice. You either have your hand cut off for the rest of your life and you're a hook hand.
Wait a minute. Is this Muslims making me make this choice? They steal bread and fucking...
Time-traveling Nazis are doing this to you. Cut your hand off, hook, or take your foot off, creep boot for the rest of your life. You either have a hook...
Why do I got to wear a creep boot?
This is part of the... These are the...
But why can't I wear one of those new RoboCop boots?
You can't have a Blade Runner bendy foot. It has to be a creep boot.
They got things now that are just look like a foot, and they work well, and you can play basketball with them.
It's not even the slice thing that's like a half crescent.
It looks like a leg.
That's... Yeah.
I saw dudes with no legs. They put on these fake, spongy, nice legs, and they're just out playing like anybody else. It's amazing to me.
See, I like...
Jedi legs.
I like the creepy half metal leg because I know the guy doesn't have a leg. I don't want to be fooled. I want to know if the guy doesn't have a leg or an appendage.
Well, who's fooling you? Who's trying to fool you?
Whoever has a
all right, so what is you're setting something up for us, right?
Yeah. What would you rather have for the rest of your life? Right, like from right now, you get a hook for a hand or a creep boot.
And then I don't get to like have a rubber hand.
No, it's a hook all the time, 24 hours a day,
I don't
7
want a
days.
hook.
Could it be one of those hooks with where the two things open and close, though? Where you can grab a paper?
It's Captain Hook. It's a Captain Hook.
Can I get a peg leg instead of a fucking creep boot?
No, just the creep boot. It's just that weird giant sole fucking foot boot.
The hook would be good for carrying home grocery bags or your dry cleaning. You could just hang everything on there and carry it home. But I don't want the hook because I'm too itchy of a person. And
well, then you have a nice hook scratch.
The hook scratch will feel great.
I will forget, and I will take that hook right through my scalp, my arm, my leg.
It's also good for breaking up ice, you know?
It's going to be a rough transition. In a couple of months, you're going to scratch yourself with that hook.
I would only buy fucking Well, you can put a cork on the end of it. No one can stop you from putting your own
problem
personal
solved.
cork
I'm
on.
sorry. I see the problems. I don't solve them. Cork on the end. Problem solved. I'm going hook hand.
Creep boots are nice, though.
We rarely see them these days, but when I do, I'm weirded out by it because it's not a normal shoe.
Here's the problem: I don't like a creep shoe. I like it to be a boot. I think it only is going to look nice if you got some ankle support.
That's why I'm afraid I'm not a good father because me and my daughter were driving one day in Long Island, and she goes, "Daddy, look!" and pointed out there was an old man sitting at a bus bench with a half metal leg, and my initial, you're supposed to be like, well, that's what happens. I turned around and went, what the fuck? And then she laughed. I tell her, don't be like your dad a lot. I have to say that to her like, at least 2 or 3 times a week. I go, don't be like your dad. I'm just an idiot.
You have to wear.
Now that's a decent looking boot.
Oh wow! You know what though? It sort of looks how I wear, like where I wear my boots now, though.
Yeah,
it's freakishly large.
I wish there was something that you could do with the other shoe to make it match up.
No.
Like, it looks like you were just in the platforms. You know, like you were doing a Marilyn Manson thing.
There's a stump in there?
Yeah, there's a weird stump in there.
Or probably just a fucking, like, dried up foot, right?
Yeah, like a club foot. Those end up in these things.
I had a friend who lost the front of his foot. So he had like a cancerous growth on his foot and lost the whole front of his foot. And they just put an insert in his shoes, and you would never tell. He walks. It's a little limpy when he walks, but he runs, plays basketball, everything. He doesn't even have any.
Yeah, I mean, it's all easy now.
Yeah.
You know who had one of those foots, or feet? No, it was just a foot. It wasn't both feet. Was Dudley Moore.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Remember in the movie 10 where he went to the beach and he was wearing this full, stupid sweatsuit? It's because he couldn't walk around in a pair of shorts.
Holy shit.
What is he? He's got...
He just had like a wilted up fucking foot.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. And they said he would be like fine until he started drinking, and then he'd be all pissed about his foot. You fucking don't know what it's like! You know, he's always fucking bumming on it.
I think I spot the boot. I think it was the left leg.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was a boot or not. I know it was withered and just fucking useless to the world.
But look, Bo Derek's actually looking down in that shot at the foot, trying to check it out.
She's freaked out by it.
I don't understand how there's two Bo Dereks in that fucking...
I think this is Photoshop, maybe?
Yeah, because who's the other one?
Two Bo Dereks and 5 feet or 6.
That picture is not from the movie. It doesn't belong there. It's madness.
All right, here we go. Here he is. Oh, water's covering up the foot.
And again, why is he wearing a fucking full suit on the beach? She's in a bathing suit. He's like, yeah, I'm going to put on a white suit and come out with you. Why? Because of your foot? No. Not at all. I just like to dress formal at the beach.
I'm comfortable this way.
I'm fucking fine.
Can you get the baby foot wet?
I don't know if it's all withered up. It's probably bad for it. It's stinking.
I never realized how much Dudley Moore looks like the other guy from Air Supply.
I didn't know that there was a first guy in Air Supply.
I would say the tall blonde. The dashing blonde is the first one.
I'm going to admit this, and I only got a radio background. You know more about Air Supply than me already.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't it look like Dudley Moore?
Okay, that does look like Dudley Moore.
Yeah, the other guy. The blonde-haired guy is the one that still hangs out and does, buy these compilation CDs from the 70s.
Those CDs are the best.
Blowhard.
They're great.
How you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. Hey,
Yeah.
Jay, I really enjoy your comedy.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
I really enjoyed you when you were on Louis, by the way. One of the funniest scenes ever. I've been wearing a creep boot for foot surgery. And let me tell you, it's hell. It's called a crow's foot. That's the real name for it. And after you have foot surgery, you have to wear this boot, and it weighs about 25 pounds. So when you're walking around with the creep boot, you're carrying an additional 25 pounds.
All right, I'm looking at it right now, and it does look like a Kiss boot.
People think it kind of looks like a Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And it scares the living shit out of people. I live in an Asian neighborhood, and when I come walking down the block, and I have to use a cane when I wear the creep boot, and the Chinese look at it, and they just run away like I'm Herman Munster. It's the funniest thing. And you have to wear it because it gives you support, and it takes some weight off the wound so your foot can heal. That's the purpose of the creep boot, to take the weight off the wound in your foot. But it's, like I said, it weighs about... If I took that creep boot off, I could use it as a weapon and kill somebody. Cause it's
wow.
So, I mean,
what do you hope to get out of it? Is to make your legs stronger?
No, it just protects the wound, and it's supposed to take a percentage of your body weight off the foot, so you're not damaging the wound. And when you have foot surgery, like I had, you have to wear the creep boot, and it's scary because sometimes it's a little unstable.
If I had to go through all that, I'd just sit in my house in a chair and look out the window and drink.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same way. It's like, it's like, well, you have to wear an eye patch for a year. I'm like, just take the eye, man.
Yeah,
Let's throw a glass eye in there.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I have no problem giving up. I do not want to fight the good fight against deteriorating. Just do it now. Shoot me now. You see that story
I'd rather
about
have
that?
a hook any day. than continue.
The guy who they called him like the Brussels Bolt or something like that. He was a 96-year-old man who was in a fucking race last year, and he went viral on the internet. Well, he found out that he was dying, so he just threw a big party for his fucking friends and family, said thanks to everybody, and then went in the back room, fucking wasted himself, and everyone knew it was like a death party,
Wow.
They just had like a fucking hot shot for him, which is the best way to go out.
Sure.
Just too much morphine. I still think I could shake it off. I'd still be like, I don't know.
I'm going to take this nap. When I wake up, I'm back in the fight.
Just in and out.
Hey, Jay.
Too much morphine.
I know you're an Eagles fan. Who do you like for the Super Bowl this year?
I don't even know who's in the playoffs still. I check right out as soon as the
My
Eagles are
friend
done.
Jack is the same way. He is not a football fan. He's an Eagles fan, and when they're done, he's done. He's like, why would I watch that? And I'm like, it's the game.
All right, guys, have a good day.
I'll see you later, my friend.
Creep boot out.
Creep boot is out. I'm a creep boot. Well, that is it for us. Big J, thank you so much for stopping by, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Where are you off to next?
I am going to Toronto, actually, on Monday for a couple of days. And then, and then Crackers. Indianapolis. And then I'm doing that heavy metal cruise ship again at the end of the month, which is going to be fun.
This is the cruise ship that when it shows up at different points, the people scream and run away as the Vikings were landing.
It should. 2 days in the Bahamas is going to be nice, and all this cold to go put on some really long denim shorts.
By the way, if anyone offers to sell you dope there, they're a cop.
In
Or
the Bahamas?
working with the cops, yeah.
Oh, no, they're not a cop. What happened last year was we got ripped off $60 for less than one joint's worth of weed. Colorado rolled over in its grave.
All right, gang, we'll be back in here tomorrow. Fez, you look like you wanted to read something?
Just letting everyone know, Big Jay's going to be at Crackers in Indianapolis on the 22nd and at Helium Comedy Club in Philly starting on February 5th.
Sweet. See you as soon as you're back in town, dude.
Yes, indeed.
That's the end of my show. Donk.